Hi, this is Hetty Bryant and this is a video for Assessment 2, Digital Identity Story for MGT568, Leadership and Difference. So, Assessment 2 is also worth 30%, the same as Assessment 1. It's due on the 28th of April, so you've got some time over the session break to actually get it done. It's only 250 to 500 words, so you're just writing a short script, okay? I want you to submit through Easts. If you have problems doing that, you're to email me, and I'll explain that again in a minute, okay? So before you start this, I've actually developed a lot of guidelines on how to do digital storytelling, and I've put those under the Learning Content and Activities section, but I've also put them under the Assessment 2 link, so you can look at those in both places. And also the readings on identity will assist you in writing about your own identity. So the weeks, week 2, 1, 2 and 3 will really assist you to look at your own identity as well. So you've got to do 5 tasks, and as I always say, it's really good to maybe do your subject headings, for your assessment under each of those tasks. However, I've just realised I shouldn't have given you that advice because this is a different assessment. So first of all, what I want you to do is select a feature of your identity and investigate a critical moment relating to that feature that is responsible for shaping or changing your life. So there might be something that happened to you in the past. You may have come from a low SES background and something happened there and you decided to change and do something else. Your background may be from another country and there's an identity associated with that. There's a whole range of things that you can look at. So that's investigating that. Then when you've thought about investigating that, what I want you to do then is to put pen to paper, to write a story about this critical moment or incident, just in a script. So it's a story. It's got a beginning, middle and an end. 250 to 500 words is all we're needed, okay? I won't get hung up if you give me more than 500, but if we get to 1,000, that's too much, okay? It's just a simple story. And in the story, I want you to identify in some detail how this feature relates to difference, not diversity, but difference, and your leadership capacity. So how it relates to your current leadership capacity and future and past on an individual level, an organisational level, and or community level in your current work, okay? At the conclusion of the story, discuss or visually portray how you would put into practice the knowledge of your identity. Okay, so some people draw pictures. They may do a action plan. You don't have to do that though. Keep it simple. Keep it very simple. You don't have to say much. And then the most important part is you create a short story or multimedia presentation, and I've said, look, you can do a voiceover PowerPoint or you can be as creative as you want to be. It only needs to be 2 to 4 minutes. That represents a cohesive story. So when you do the multimedia presentation, your voiceover PowerPoint or your video or whatever, you're actually narrating the story that you've written, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to submit that story as a Word document, but I also need you to upload the video file. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. Okay? So marking criteria is really important, and I'll reiterate the marking criteria for Assessment 1, which I haven't done in that particular video, but I'll reiterate it in the online lectures that we have. But the marking criteria for the digital identity story is quite clear actually. So the first thing is selecting that feature of your identity and investigating a critical moment. So actually saying what that is, and then from a high distinction to a fail. So if you don't attempt the task, you fail. If you show deep insight and connection with difference and leadership practice, you're more likely to get a higher distinction, okay? And then it steps down. The second criteria is write a story about this critical moment or incident. So this is the script you're going to write, and this is worth 30% because storytelling is really important practice of leaders. Okay? So the script implicitly reveals deep emotional connection and identity, difference, and the impact on leadership practice with an effective conclusion. So that's that deep emotional connection. So that's a high distinction. If it's irrelevant or incorrect, it's a fail. Okay? And then it works all the way up. So if you've covered most of the relevant aspects in one way or another, you get a pass. And the more nuanced it becomes and the deeper connection, the more likely you are to get a distinction and above. Then you're asked at the conclusion of the story to discuss or visually portray how you would put into practice the knowledge of your identity. So how are you going to put it into your leadership practice? So that's 20%. So if you have an outstanding conclusion with an impactful link between reflection and future practice, because this is all about reflective practice, you're going to get a high distinction. If you don't attempt or you don't elaborate, it's a fail. To get a distinction and above, it really has to be insightful and effective, and you really need to be linking your reflection with practice. The fourth thing is the digital identity story, which is worth the most. It's worth 40%. So you're creating that short story, and to get a high distinction, the digital presentation shows strong connection between identity and leadership experiences in a cohesive story with a sophisticated use of multimedia. All the way down to does not follow digital story format. To get a distinction or above, you actually have to portray a cohesive story and a skilled engagement with multimedia. Okay? So you don't get hung up on the digital side of it. Most people do really well in this, and they can do very well with a voiceover PowerPoint, using very creative stories though, and creative PowerPoint, or you can use Prezi. Some people used Adobe Splash last time and it was brilliant, but whatever you can do, don't get too hung up about the digital side of things, and get some support as well if you wish to. Look at those resources, and I'll get onto those again. So the rationale for this particular assessment is to be able to locate yourself and your identity in relation to others. There's no point in us wanting to be able to lead diverse people or lead difference if we don't actually understand ourselves and where we're located in difference as well, and how we are different, because we're all unique. To provide you with an opportunity to enhance your digital media skills, which is important for all leadership practice. So if you feel yourself reacting and getting quite kind of upset about having to spend time developing this digital media, just think, leadership practice now is really important, and to be able to use digital media is one of the skills that is important as well. I'll give you a very good example. Our Vice-Chancellor, I suppose he'd be in his mid-50s now. He's into all digital media. He produces all his own PowerPoints. He produces all his own Prezis, pictures, you name it. He's really connected. Most leaders today are connected and know how to actually connect across social media, etc. It's a really important skill set, okay? And also the other thing is applying your leadership about your identity to your own leadership practice. So we get back to application again. We locate ourselves, we look at the theoretical constructs, we develop our skills, and we apply. We apply this. How are we going to apply this learning to our practice? So to support you for this assessment, look at those resources that I've provided on digital storytelling. And also go to the Wollongong Guide for Digital Storytelling, because it's a really, really good guide. And so I don't have to give you any exemplars because you'll see them in these links, okay? You'll get a really good idea of what others have done. Now, when you go to upload your video, you may have some issues if it's too big. So email me if you can't, and we'll work out how I can share a Dropbox folder and you can upload to that. Or you can upload to one of your Dropbox folders and give me a link to that particular file. Okay, we'll work it out. Okay, so that's about it. If you have any questions, always consider posting your questions to the assessment forum first, because that benefits other people. You can email me, which is preferable because then I've got it in writing and then I can repurpose it to the assessment forum and I can de-identify you if you wish. Or you can call me. Okay? Best to email me, then you've got it in writing. I know some people find it difficult they like to speak to someone as well. I mightn't always answer the phone. I only work part-time, but I will always get back to you in 3 working days from your email and your phone inquiries and also the discussion forum. Okay, so I wish you well developing your digital story. I think that you will really enjoy it and it'll be a really good part of your leadership journey. Thanks for listening. Cheers.